So the name ornament has a snowflake on it, and then it has a name, and then it's round, but I'll teach you the snowflake first. So when you're doing laser, I mean, your instinct would maybe be to use the line tool to do your snowflake. Um, I'm just going to do this really fast. So it's not going to be even because when you're thinking a snowflake, then it has little jiggity jiggities. Oops, sorry. But the problem with this is when you go to laser cut, it's going to cut where the line is, right? So then this would be more of like an engraving situation, not a cutting. If you want to cut out a snowflake, it actually has to have like two lines on it. So what I do is I go into the rounded rectangle tool, and then I draw out my first piece of the snowflake. And then you want all the edges of your snowflake to be the same. So then you want to copy that, which is Control-C or Command-C on a Mac. And then Control-C or Command-V as in Victor to paste it. And then if you hold Shift, you can actually turn this and it'll go turned on a perfect angle there for you. So then that way you don't have to worry about trying to guess. And then we just want to find the center. There. And once you have it right, it'll see it says center there, and then right there, the same center, that it's in the right place. And then we're going to do another one. And I will warn you, while I'm building this, it will probably look a little funny, not so much like a snowflake, but once it comes along, it appears. And this one's just going to be a basic one. But there's you could go decorative, you could go fancy, you can do a lot of things with it, but just because everyone's new and this is for beginners, I'm just going to go really simple. So then, because we want to make sure that we have the correct thickness for the snowflake, I'm going to paste another one of these, but then we're going to shrink this right down. I think it's a pretty good size. And then we're going to flip here. Sorry, message coming. And then I'm going to guesstimate where it's going to go for right now. I'm going to put it right here, but it's probably going to move. Actually, it's got to move over this, so it's on the center line. And then we're going to hit Control-C, Control-V, or Command-C, Command-V. And then instead of spinning it, I will reflect it because I want to make sure. So if you go to Object and you go to Transform, you can go to Reflect, and then it's going to be perfectly flipped the opposite way, to which then we will also put it on the center line. And then Adobe's nice because it snaps it so they're in the same height, which makes life just a little bit easier. And then we're going to select both of these. If you hold Shift while clicking on them, that's how it'll select both of them. And then I'm literally just going to take this and spin it. Oh wait, sorry, I have to copy it, paste it, and then we're going to give it that one spin because we want it to live on this line. But for me, I want my snowflakes to the bottom layer to intersect with each other, so I'm going to have to move this down just a little bit. And then we're going to take this one and we're going to move it down just a little bit. A little bit more. Now we're talking. Perfect. So then we're gonna hit Control-V, Control-V, and we're gonna flip this bad boy, and then we should be able to put them all in place now that we have the first two. And then this one's gonna go here. And then this one's gonna go here. See, it's starting to come together. I'm telling you, I'm not crazy. And I do apologize if you're using something other than Adobe, it's our Illustrator. It's what I'm familiar with. I don't know if there's any other tutorial videos out there for other programs, but this is what I can offer you guys because it's what I have and it's what I'm familiar with. Perfect. And then we're going to go and we're going to take this guy and we're going to flip him. I guess I could have done it a little bit bigger. So you don't want to see how it's like it's getting fatter and you don't want it to get necessarily fatter. I could have done the little ticks a little bit longer, but hey, every snowflake is different, so we'll just wing it on this one because it's just a quick tutorial. And usually too, yeah, there it is. You can get it so it shows you like the different spacing, so you know if you're the same in between all your different little zones there. So then you can see like the bottom from there to there is the same distance, so you kind of know it's equal. I really should have pasted this guy in the right way, but that's okay. There. And then that way I know that they're equally spaced, and then what I'm going to do, because I don't want to have to do that on every single one, like trying to space it, so I'm going to select them all, and you'll know they're all selected when they each have like a little dot in them, and then we're going to do our Control-C, Control-B, Command-C, Command-B, and we're just going to kind of do what we did before, and get this guy. Place. And again, keeping the snowflakes super duper basic. You can go a lot more crazy. This is just, for the beginners, if you're looking to do some ornaments and you don't want to have to spend a whole lot of time building crazy files. But I definitely encourage you to have some fun with it. Make different designs. Perfect. And oh god, it's hard to see them sometimes when they're like all on top of each other. Bum, 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 bum. Cool. Okay, so once you have kind of your shape of your snowflake, again, kind of rushed it, the distances might be a little bit off. You can take longer if you want it to be perfect. But obviously, if you tried to cut this, all these little lines would end up getting cut too. This is probably the most, I don't know, maybe the most time-consuming part. You're going to select your whole snowflake, and then you're going to go over here, and we've got the Shape Builder tool. When you click it and you hold Option, or I think on a Windows computer, I think it's Alt. On Mac, it's Option, Alt on Windows. But you will come up and then you can delete these little lines like so. Bada boom, bada bing. And the thing about these ones is you'll see this line goes all the way around. That is key because if it didn't go all the way around, it would be like when you're laser cutting, it would go past the path twice, and you don't want that because then that's two cuts instead of one. But it does as you can see, it wraps around that way, and then it wraps around that way, so then you know it's only left one path there. Yeah, we're just going to take a minute to get rid of all these. La 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 la. This back in here, and then that. Oh, one there. And so those little dots, they're not lines, they're paths. But with the laser cutter, if you leave a path, it will cut there, even if it's invisible, even if you can't see it. The laser, like I've learned, the laser cutter will do a little dot there. So if you're like, oh, there's a random dot, and I don't know why, that it's the path that it's still cutting. So then we're just gonna get rid of this guy in the middle. Hello, little friend. Alright, cool. Look at it. Yay! Basic snowflake. Nothing too exciting. Basic, wonderful. Will laser cut like very nicely too. I'm going to create a new layer because one thing when you're making a file, it's usually better to put the different elements on different layers, because then when you are changing the name or editing the file, it just, honestly, it makes life so much easier. So that's why we're making a new layer. And you can name them too if you really want to. We'll call this one Snowflake. And then we'll call this one Ornament. And then what I usually do, because I don't want to get confused and I don't want to break my snowflake, I'll lock it so I can't, see now I can't do anything to it. Oh my goodness. And I'll hide it, and then I'll go on to do my next part, which is the ornament. For me, when I do the ornaments, I grab the brown tool, I hold shift, pull this bad boy down, and again, because I created this file 3.5 by 3.5 inches, when I go to cut this later, I don't have to worry about resizing it, because when I build my files, I build them to size, because then you don't get any distortion later. And then we're going to go like this, and we're going to make another circle. I don't know, this is probably too small, but we'll see. Yeah, I want it a little bit fatter, I think. And then again, you just have to, oh, that's off though. You just have to find the center, bada boom, bada bing, and then you know that everything is in place. And then you can build a little topper on the ornament. I usually grab this guy and I go to the rounded rectangle, and then I draw a little, that's about right. And then I'm going to take him and I'm going to make sure that he's centered with my circle. We're going to select everything, and then we're just going to go delete these lines, and then we're going to take this guy, we're going to go back to the circle. And if you're thinking right now, oh my god, she's outside the canvas, that's okay, because when the ornament's done, we're going to turn it so this little nubbin will actually be over here. But I want to make sure everything is straight when I build it, so for right now it's just going a little bit outside. So we've got this guy, and I'm going to make sure let's take him away, and then move him back to make sure we get him centered. And then we're going to draw another little circle. Oh, there's. And we're going to make sure it's centered. And then again, we're going to grab our shape builder tool, and we're going to hold Option. And we're just going to delete these little guys here. And then that's like the little, you know, when you hang the ornament, the thing that it goes through. Sometimes if I'm feeling particularly creative, I'll draw little rectangle things in it just to kind of make it look even more real, which we need a couple of those, so I'm going to copy and paste it. There we go. Actually, we'll do the one in the middle first. And we'll do the ones on the outside. And then you just have to be careful because this is a small file, right? There you go. So you don't want lines to be too close together, or when it's cutting, you might run into like, it'll be so fine that it could break easy if you're on a thin wood, so. Okay, so then we've got our little easy peasy ornament topper thing there. I might have made this part a little bit round, too round, but I mean, doesn't really have to be anything special. If you want to change that when you're in your rounded tool, you can actually change the curve, I guess, on it when you're using it. So then when we have our shape, we want to go back, we want to be able to see our snowflake. And then what we're going to do is we're going to unlock it, but then I'm going to lock my ornament because I don't want to break it. I don't want to accidentally move something on it. And then that way when I grab everything, I'm not grabbing my ornament, I'm just grabbing my snowflake. And then this is where I kind of start to decide like, oh, what angle I want it on, how many I want, the whole 9 yards. I'm just going to, I think, put him like here maybe. Yeah, that looks okay. And then I think I want more than one snowflake for this ornament, so we're gonna Control C, Control V, and then I don't know, maybe I'll have one come out through the bottom. I'm thinking about like where the name's gonna be. I don't even know what name I'm even gonna use yet. Maybe I'll use my own name. I don't really know. Set it there for now. And we are going to cut out these back parts. But before I do any cutting, I want to make sure that my name fits right. So we're going to create a new layer. And we'll call this the name layer. What name should we do? Maybe Sally. Sure. And then I like to choose a good font for it. My favorite font for ornaments is this one, the brush script, and the reason for that is it's thicker, and the thicker you go on a smaller ornament, the better it is. If you're making a larger ornament, I mean, you could go with a more dainty font, but I'm just going to go with this one here, and then we're going to increase the size because we want Sally to fit in here nice. I'm going to go max size on this bad boy. And then what you have to do with the font is you actually have to go up to type and then you have to go to create outline. And then what that does is it makes it, see these little jiggity jaggeders right there? When you go to, on a laser machine to cut, though it'll cut there, like it'll cut those lines and it'll be going like, what's going on with my font? So I always make sure to make an outline so then that way we can turn this into a proper cut file because again, it's going to cut where the black is. And then let's see here. I'm going to make sure it's touching where it needs to be touching. So this is where it's like, okay, I've got my snowflakes in here. How do I need to angle them to make everything come together nice, right? So Sally looks her greatest. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. So then the Y is, yeah, there we go. We're getting somewhere. So then the S is touching and the Y is touching, which is key because that's what's going to hold the letters in place. The S has like a really good grip on there, which is good. The Y is a little bit small, so if you really want to edit that, you can. You can actually individually select the Y, and then there's a tool up here that you can. Oh, come here, or maybe it was what I was looking for. Where you can kind of, yeah, there we go. You can make it a little bit thicker, so then that way just it's less likely to break. And then I'm going to change my snowflake a little bit. And this is where I'm going to lock Sally, so then that way I can just select the whole ornament and not have Sally get interfered with. And then switch back to this guy. And now we can kind of move this so it's not just thinking how I want to. We'll move it up a little bit maybe. Technically the L on Sally could touch on that one little, and then we can shift this guy up a little bit too, or I can even, because I want to have a little bit more snowflake. I'm getting so nitpicky and I don't even have anyone that this is being made for. Yeah, okay. So let's just start, oops, zoom out. Let's just start deleting things now. When you're using this tool, the Shape Builder tool, you have to have all your layers unlocked or it's not going to cut right. And then, so again, you're going to hold that option. And we're just going to go and we're going to delete all the unnecessary things. I think I can actually, yeah, because they're separated now. Whoop. And I'd have to click each line individually, like do 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 do. But down here, I don't think, oh yeah, okay, we're good. Okay, and then we're just gonna take this little guy again and delete you. And then, so obviously right now, the ornament goes all the way around, and if that was the case, it would cut out that part, which we don't want that to happen. So you can actually cut these little nookies out, and then that part isn't going to get cut, which is what's going to attach it to the whole ornament. And we're going to get rid of these little ones in here. This is like pretty small. I'm just going to take it off. And then when I was down here trying to do it, so sometimes when you're working on a file, see how when I'm going to erase that and it's going to take out this whole line and you're like, oh no, what happened? It's because there's not an overlapping path. So there is, we know there's one here because it's not going past up this way, but then here it's not overlapping. And when that happens, you just basically have to make it so it does overlap. So I'm just going to take that anchor and I'm going to drag it down. And then when I take this guy and I grab this guy, I should be able to just, yeah, and then we can get rid of that little tiny line that we drew down too. And then when we zoom out, bada boom, bada bing, we have a Sally ornament with snowflake. Yeah, that's basically, and you can arrange the snowflake on there however you want. You can go big, you can go small, you can go thin, you can go fat. Again, oh, I guess I gotta turn this bad boy. Oh, what are you doing? You just, I don't know, you do it how, why are you being this way? You just do it how you want to do it, and it all just kind of comes together, I guess you could say. If I could just click this right, that'd be wonderful. There we go. And then this is where I told you I was going to spin it. Boom. And yeah, that's pretty much all I could say about how to make a basic ornament. My recommendation is step one, build yourself some snowflakes. Because if you have them pre-made and you have them how you like them, then it'll be really easy to drop them in. Instead of using the same snowflake in both spots, you could use two different ones. You can make them fatter, thinner, it doesn't really matter, but it helps a lot when you have things ready ahead of time, because then when you're building files, you just grab the things that you already have and you go. And then that's where I like file, if I go, I wonder if I go into my more recent files, maybe not. It just, yeah, makes things easier. So I'm trailing off. It's like loading. If I can show you. Like, maybe on a next video I'll show you guys how I do these guys too. But like this one, I used a different snowflake I created. This snowflake is a little bit more tight together. And then yeah, this one's the popper one, which maybe on my next video I will show you guys how to make the whole paw and put it together. But it's the same meshing, like how I was showing you with the shape builder tool. I always have to go over it. I can never remember what it's called. And just cutting out the pieces and doing it all together. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope I didn't ramble on too much, and I hope you guys can now go and make your own snowflakes however you want. Make them beautiful. And if you have any questions, you can let me know. Okay, thank you.